welcome to Your Career Revolution podcast presented by the Entrepreneur Source. Once again, my name is Mike Toper, and we are taken to the skies this afternoon. Got a great conversation we're ready to have for you here with two special guests. But first, I'm going to bring in my co-host, the Chief of Brand Ideology for the Entrepreneur Source, Tamara Loring. Tamara, how are the dog days of summer treating you?
Loving it. Always a good day when you get to speak to people about reimagining and reclaiming the life of their dreams. So let's get it started.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. See, we're starting to blend here, Tamara. It's been about a year now. We're blending here. I want to bring in my guests, Andrew Yonkers and Jamie Allen. Both have pretty impressive backgrounds here. Just wondering if you guys can introduce yourselves right here, beginning with you, Jamie. Or, excuse me, beginning with Andrew.
Hey, I'm Andrew. I did 20 and a half years in the military as aircraft structural maintenance. Been all over the world, did a lot of different things. And when I retired out of the military, I thought about going into, the contractor world. And then I just said, I think doing the entrepreneurial stuff is probably going to be more fitting. And fortunately, Jamie reached out to me over LinkedIn and was like, hey, you ever thought about franchising? Yep, yeah. Only for the last 15 years, Jamie. so it worked out great. And he really did push me through and got me set up great.
And we're going to dive right into that. Jamie, could you just give us an introduction to yourself?
Yeah, Jamie Allen, I'm an Entrepreneur Source career ownership coach, and did a similar background to Andrew in aircraft maintenance in the Air Force as well.
Excellent. And so Andrew touched on a little bit of his background right there. And again, 20 years in the Air Force. And when you got out, Andrew, you were looking to, start a career, maybe get a career with a military contractor. But that didn't necessarily pan out the way that you wanted. What kind of led you to make a career shift once you retired and look towards maybe an entrepreneurial opportunity?
Honestly, it was just it's been something I've been thinking about for years, and ultimately, in the end, I thought about it. I'm like, I've done the military for this many years, and really, I kind of want to be my own boss. I want to be able to make my own schedule, not have to go out there and align things up with everybody else. So that's ultimately that was one of the biggest decision makers. The other one, with the particular brand that I went with, my wife is an architect, so it kind of made sense for us to go the route that we went.
And Tamara, you kind of might tie that into one of the themes that TES talks about in terms of revolt, right?
Absolutely. And first and foremost, Jamie knows how I feel about it. So, Andrew, thank you so much for allowing us to be able to have the life we have and experience the freedoms we have here, right? And this is why our book is so near and dear to my heart, because it's all about freedom, being able to pursue the life of our dreams. And it's interesting to me that, after serving our country for 20 years, not only have you met somebody like Jamie, but then probably was a grain of sand in your shoe, something that irritated you a little bit, saying there has to be a better way. When you were exploring your options, saying, how can I have the flexibility that I'm looking for to spend more time with my stepson? And I think you've got 2 young kids at home, right? How can I create this better and brighter future? I think in the blog, we referred to it where we quoted you. You said, I felt like I had a bigger and brighter future ahead of me. And so this is what we refer to as that revolt. Now, it doesn't need to be violent. It doesn't need to be expressive, but there's that nagging desire inside of us saying, it's time to explore something better. There has to be something more for me out there. And maybe, Jamie, you can comment on it too.
Yeah, it's interesting. Andrew, in his moment where he's completing his military career, it's almost like it's a reversal of a layoff, right? A layoff is a bad thing. For him, it was a self-layoff. He chose to complete his career, and now it's time to go to career 2.0. And it's all positive, but it's completely new, and his options are a tremendous amount of different types of options. He has a lot of leadership and management skills. And the first thing I heard in his voice was, I want to use those. I want to be my own boss. I've had a lot invested in me across my military career. Both of us have. That resonated with both of us. And I want to use that. I want to use it for family, and I want to use it for our community, and have a vision of where I'm going and be in charge of that vision. Early in our conversations, he talked about being a multi-unit owner, having multiple territories, and also possibly multiple different brands of franchises to diversify. So he was already putting out a vision of what he wanted to do. Is how can he get there? What is this? What are his options? And the franchising piece really connected with him.
And to take somebody to a vision that is bigger than themselves takes something that we talk about in the book also, right? It's that trust component, leadership relationship that will take to opportunity. So tell us a little bit about how you guys met. And Andrew, feel free to comment on it. I mean, did you know Jamie? How did you know that he was going to be the guy who could take you to help you make your vision a reality?
So no, I did not know Jamie. As I mentioned before, I had on LinkedIn, I had what do they call that? Open to work sticker because I was retiring, and Jamie reached out to me on LinkedIn and introduced himself, and then as we started talking, we realized that we weren't so far apart. People that he knew, and there was contracts out there in an area that he was at, that we knew some of the same people, and it just really made me have a lot more trust into Jamie himself as an individual. And then from there, it took off, and he brought up a couple different companies, and I was like, hey, what about this? What about that? Asked me a bunch of questions. What do you want to do? And then so one thing led to another, and we made a determination between my wife and I, and we pressed. That was it.
And we want to peel that back a little more in just a moment. But first of all, Jamie, I mean, you know, from the outside looking in, it looks like you had a similar experience. Obviously, you were in the Air Force as well. You guys both have that in common. You were in the Air Force for, I believe, almost 30 years there. What led you to kind of, once you were done with that, to get into career coaching? Because you had kind of your own little shift as far as career as well.
I did. I had to go through the same transition that Andrew did. What am I going to do? I have all these options. For me, I landed a job in an aviation flight test company, a lot of drone work for the government. And at the time, it was a perfect fit. And that's where I started learning my business side as a CEO, then later of a multi-million-dollar company as a CEO. But there came a point where I came home one day and I mentioned to my wife, hey, we've been married a long time. Our 3 kids are grown and gone with all their families. I've never had time flexibility before. It's always been away for work. And Andrew, I think I mentioned this to you. My 29 years, about 5 total years of that, I was away from family. Remote tours. Andrew just got off a remote tour in Korea over a year. I'd done the same thing in the Middle East and all of those. So there was, like you said, there was that piece that was missing. So I went looking. Really had not thought about franchising, but I didn't want to do a startup. So I was looking for jobs, and when I got approached for franchising, I went, well, that makes total sense for me because it's a good, integrated, built, well-proven system. And I understand that. I don't have to be given an operations manual and go apply it and do well at it. So I knew Andrew had that same skill, but he was in that same transition period.
And really, that is a gift that you, Jamie, and all of the coaches here at the Entrepreneur Source are able to give our seekers, right, to help them reimagine something that they hadn't even thought about before. Because so many times we have these limiting beliefs based on our experience or just what we've been told that I cannot do that. I cannot have the flexibility and have a job and create an income and create a future for my family. And what we're doing is pause the reality for right now. And let's just dream like when we're a kid and when everything is possible. And then let's explore the vehicles that are out there to help you create the life that you want to do. And I think Andrew said, he just realized that the job market, the traditional job market, was not going to be exciting enough for him. So you helped him venture outside of that. And what else could it look like, right? So you said very early on, you guys discovered that maybe it was going to be business ownership. Maybe it was going to be franchising. Maybe it was even going to be bigger than just a franchise. I think I heard you talk about multiple territories. So Andrew definitely had a big vision and a big dream of what is possible. He just needed somebody to show him the way a little bit, to allow him to see how to make that vision a reality.
Yeah. Tamara, you mentioned the word vehicles, and that's so important in our coaching style, the entrepreneur source. Because in the very beginning, we partner with lots of really good franchises, but that's not what we talk about in the very beginning of our coaching. The beginning of the coaching is, Andrew, you got all these skills. You could work for 4 layers of government, local to federal. You could work for small to medium-sized business. You could do it as a contractor, right? If you can do the contractor world, as a military contractor, do it now while your skills are strong and you're known. Or you could start a business, buy a business, start a franchise, buy an existing franchise. All of these options. So let's talk about those. And he did. The contractor world. Employment. It wouldn't give him that independence, right? That autonomy that he was looking for. We talked about that in the beginning. And that's what kind of, I think for him, navigated even more to, franchising, even though he'd been thinking about it, really appears to be his best choice. Let's explore that. And that took a couple of calls to get there.
And I'm curious. Oh, Andrew, go ahead.
I was just going to jump in real quick. What's interesting to me is, speaking of government contracts, so I'm currently working with getting government contracts for the company that I went with. Because we have that veteran status, it does help to land those jobs and that kind of thing, whether it's, a courthouse, Air Force base, whatever it may be. Anything government related, because of the veteran status, it does help out. So that it's interesting that we did have that conversation, and government contracting. I don't think I really want to do it. But now I'm like, well, I got good crews. I've got good good people that are working for me. Let's do it to it. It makes sense, and so it's kind of come full circle. But it's doing something that I love to do. And I'm still the boss, if you will.
You get to work on your own dream versus on somebody else's dream, right?
Yes,
and you found a vehicle, it sounds, that serves your life's purpose. If you can think back to that moment when you were exploring all the possibilities out there, how did you land on where you went? Like, what was that like? How did you know that this is the direction I want to pursue?
Well, to be honest, Jamie sent me three different companies and was like, "Hey, what do you think about this one? What do you think about that one? And what do you think about the third one?" And my wife Lonnie and I, we discussed it and we talked about it, and I mean, we didn't even have to go any further. And Jamie even told me straight up, he's like, "Look, most people are not going to pick one of the first 3, but it's my exploratory. I'm trying to figure out what it is that you're interested in." And but Lonnie and I, like I said, she's got her architectural degree, and architect, started by an architect. It made sense. She knows AutoCAD. She knows all the different things that are going on with that type of work. And so I can't wait to get her more wrapped into the business. It's just my 3-year-old's still at home, so she's still being the stay-at-home mom right now.
And curious, Andrew, because Jamie had talked about a little bit about having a familiar, both having a familiar background and being able to relate to each other as you were exploring some of these different opportunities. Did it help, and how did it help having both of you be, not just veterans, but Air Force veterans, and kind of having a similar background? Did that help you kind of go along this path? And if so, how?
So that's interesting. When Jamie first reached out to me, I didn't know Jamie from Jim. And honestly, when he first reached out to me, I was like, he's probably full of it, whatever. It's fine. But when we started talking and we went through our background, and I knew, like I said, some of the people that he knew, and we just I knew he was a genuine guy, and that's what really helped me out to go through that avenue with Jamie. Because if it was just some random Joe from down the block, I probably wouldn't have done anything. It probably just been like, well, whatever, you know. Uh, Possibly I would have, but I don't know. But that's what really helped us connect, and that's what helped me to make that decision and to go forward to explore what opportunities were out there.
And
Excellent.
tomorrow, I don't take that lightly just because I have a background with the veteran that they're automatically going to be a good fit for me and for them. It's a way to get the conversation going because we did have similar, but building that safe space and that trust that I am here truly for you. And I'm not looking for you to open a business. I'm here to help you explore, to meet your goals and your needs and expectations. Really want to focus on that. Um, that's something that's important to me, that I need to develop that trust on that very first call with him, that I am genuine. Because otherwise it doesn't work. Because this is a career 2.0 of significance. This is not just a 6-month effort. This is a multi-year effort, and they want to make sure they're going the right direction. So I'm glad, that he was at least trying to confirm on that first call, is this the pathway and the type of coaching system that we provide that's going to help you.
Right. So maybe
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a conversation starter, but you didn't take for granted. Like we always say, trust is earned. And really, we don't take that lightly, to really help people understand that we're not here for any other purpose than to help you reimagine and reclaim that life of your dreams, right? And we don't have a pre-canned answer or solution. It is really about you exploring the pros and cons. And quite frankly, Jamie, you and I have seen that the majority of the people will actually discover that maybe entrepreneurship or business ownership is not right for them, or maybe not right now. Now, I personally believe that veterans make amazing entrepreneurs. And I think veterans make amazing franchisees because they respect the system, they respect the process. There's just this innate, the systems people. Now, I don't know, Andrew, am I right or am I off on a limb here when I say that? Would you agree with that?
I think you're 100% right. And Jamie, he can relate to this as aircraft maintenance. We follow the rules. We have to follow the rules, otherwise people die.
Yeah.
And so, for me, following a system that's already been established, it just makes perfect sense. And yes, I mean, there hiccups. Yes, of course. It's going to happen. It's going to happen no matter where you're at or what you're doing. You got to work through some of the loopholes and to figure out how to make things work. But for the most part, I would say 99% of the time, it's already solidified. It's already established. We just got to get through that last 1%.
Yeah, I think one of the things that people don't often appreciate is, but not all franchises are created equally, but what you do get with the franchise is not just the system, but is the community, whereby you get to be in business for yourself, but not by yourself, right? So you don't have to figure it out or fix everything yourself. Now, like any business, you show me a business that doesn't have any hiccups, you're showing me something new. But hopefully it takes a village to be able to help you work through those issues. The other thing that I would like to pivot to, Mike, if that is okay, I know Jamie quite well, and I know the example that he's setting for his family, and the fact that he's available to be there for his children or grandchildren, pick them up from school, and just do really fun activities. I know, Andrew, that you have young children too. You said the youngest is 3 years old. I'm just giddy about the example that you're setting. Not only have you served our country and you have fought for our freedoms, but the fact that you're showing them a way to entrepreneurship and self-sufficiency. Do you wish to comment on that?
Yeah, no. So my oldest, he's 16. He's my stepson, but I've been raising him since he was 5. So I claim him as my own. But yeah, no. I've been getting him going, getting him into it, teaching him just, how to operate the computer and how to operate different systems that we have. And eventually I'll get him out into the sales world, so he can just follow and see how I operate, see how we do things. And, hopefully one of these days I'll get him with a carpenter crew, so he can learn the operation side of things. How do all these things come together, whether it's a roof tie-in or a pergola or a deck or whatever the case may be. But eventually I want to get him to the place where he can go off and be on his own, and whether it's buying that area up in Tulsa, for instance. I bought 2 territories out here in Oklahoma City. But if I can get him going and get him through all those different stages, and eventually, if nobody else buys it, then maybe I can get him out there and he can be I'll be the owner, quote unquote, but he can be the operator. So, and, just let it work from there. Or maybe he can be my project manager. I don't know. Yet to be determined, but that's a few years down the road.
Yeah, now you're spreading it again. As Jamie had talked about, you're not just doing this for yourself now. You're looking for the generations, the next generation, and kind of spreading it that way. So that's really excellent. And as we begin to wrap up here, Jamie, for you, what advice would you give to a person maybe? Not everybody's going to put in over 20 years and decide, I'm going to try something else here. But for somebody who's aspiring to maybe start their own business, maybe looking to franchising or looking for a career change, what advice as a career coach would you give them, someone similar to Andrew?
So many people have put in so many years in employment and often have had very good jobs, and they've really built some good skills. And the question comes is typically when they come up in that mid-career range, now what? Now what? I have these skills. I have the confidence. Do I need to stay in employment? And they really need to open their aperture and consider entrepreneurship, because and not continue doubting themselves. So many people have gone before them so successfully and blended that income, the large lifestyle piece that's so important to people. They want to work, but they want those hours, those periods of time in their weeks and the months to where they can get more focus to their family while they're still working hard and achieve just a much better balance for them, and it's a clear pathway to where am I going to be when I'm 60? Am I going to be where I need to be when I get and arrive at that financial independence and be ready for retirement from 60 through maybe 90 years old? People are living much longer. I would say really consider it. The options are there, and connect yourself with people who can take you through that discovery. And like anybody, any system or any business, connect with people who are masters at what they do. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a coach or whether that's a franchise. And even as a franchise business owner, Andrew knows this, it's not just the franchise that you partner with. You have many other businesses that help you run your business. Start reaching out to those masters and build the team, because your second career is really valuable. It's a very special time for you in your life.
Yeah. Right on. Yeah. T, any closing thoughts on this one?
Absolutely. If you've got that edge and you keep on thinking there has to be a better way, you've heard a real life story here today. Andrew is making it happen. So why not you? Pick up that book, start reimagining and reclaiming the life of your dreams. And like Jamie said, seek help. We have coaches available to take you on this journey. So why not? You owe it to yourself and your family to, at the very least, explore what's possible. Thank you, guys. You've been great.